Welcome to the Co-Host Bros Podcast, where we break down everything short-term rentals, entrepreneurship, and building a profitable hospitality business. Whether you're a host, investor, or property manager, we share real strategies, real insights, and real experiences to help you scale smarter and grow faster. Let's dive in.
All right, everybody, welcome to episode 108 of the Cosbos podcast. We recorded episode 108 and 109, and I deleted them like boneheads. So we're redoing episode 108 with somebody totally different. So my name is Matt Codd, and I'm here with Austin Spitzenberger. We're the Cosbos podcast, and my intro was a little bit salty today. Today we have Lucas Piper here. And he's going to talk to us and give you guys some value. And if you guys enjoy the value that he's giving and things that are being brought in, please, share the show and leave us a review. And yeah, with that, I will say what's up to you, Austin.
Yeah, what's up, man? I know you deleted 2 episodes on accident. I scheduled them, so I will hold you accountable to reaching out to them and explaining what you did. That'll be your role in that. But no, man, super excited today. Sorry, go ahead. What'd you say, Matt?
I already got it scheduled with Claude. It's going to take care of it for me tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. Good deal. Well, cool. Lucas, super excited to have you on today, man. I guess for the listeners that may not know who you are, give them a quick background of kind of maybe how it is you got into the space and what you kind of do today.
Awesome. Yeah, I started doing circus stuff. Wait, you talking about short-term rentals today or short-term?
Circus is cool, dude.
Circus. No. Yeah, we actually just had our 5-year anniversary for 5-Star Vacation Home Rentals, which I'm the founder of, and has grown pretty significantly after the last few years. So that's cool. 5 years kind of since we launched that brand. Been doing short-term rentals for probably like 7 then. Kind of got into it like a lot of people did with some arbitrage and kind of renting my own kind of primary residence. And so, yeah, we've come a long time since then. Can't believe it's been 5 years with the brand. So that's where everything got started.
Nice. So let's go back 5 years when you first started. What did it look like? Where and how did you kind of get into this and get like your first clients? Like how did that momentum go? Because for the listeners that don't know, I think in my opinion, he has one of the most unique, amazing brands in the space. And I think if we probably looked at revenue per unit, I don't know where you stand, but you've got to be top in the country. But you have a very unique portfolio. But take me back to the beginning days. What was it like and how was it signing clients? Give me those first few deals.
First, man, that's super kind. Thank you for saying that. We're definitely proud of the portfolio. I don't know if we're the top in the nation or not, but but yeah, I think our average property is like 122K. So pretty good revenue marker. Yeah, so I started with the arbitrage stuff and was kind of, I got to learn, I get to make a lot of the mistakes with my own properties, which was nice, right? So I had my one property in Austin I bought. I furnished it with Goodwill furniture for about $7,000 and random stuff I had around, made it look as good as I could. I did get professional photos, so I didn't just do the cell phone. And launched that thing, had 2 arbitrage, and it was going pretty well. That's when Airbnb, you didn't have to do that much to get by, especially in Austin, Texas. I had 2 in San Antonio, 1 in Austin. That property that was not nice, as mentioned, was bringing in $1,000 a weekend. And so I'd pretty much leave every weekend, go stay with my girlfriend at the time, who now is my lovely wife, make $1,000, move back in on Sunday or Monday whenever they checked out. And then whenever we went out of town, we'd rent it longer. And that's kind of how things began. And COVID hit, I think I was up to 5 at that point. Again, all arbitrage and then just the one owned. And it was a tough time. I got furloughed from my job for like 2 months. Obviously I had like $100,000 in bookings, like just wiped out. Maybe it was like 60,000. I don't remember at the time. It felt like, it was everything, right? Like all the whole revenue from the year is gone. But it created this really cool opportunity, which was, can I survive when the worst happens? And I figured out a way to do that. Luckily Texas was still open. We had a lot of Californians coming to Austin. I was able to do some MTR stuff. I think I did drop one property, but in that moment, I kind of decided I needed that space, I think, from like the W-2 to say, do I actually want to go all in on this? Because my goal was just getting to $7,000 per month in extra income. And that was like, my first goal was 3, and then it always moves up, right? And I was like, hit 3, and like, okay, if I can just get 7 plus my income, like I'm good. Like that's all I really need in life. But I was becoming a little bit more miserable in my W-2. I was in medical marketing, and I'd pull up to a doctor's office and I'd sit in the parking lot for like an hour and a half before I went in. And it was just like, I just can't keep doing this. And the Airbnb stuff is going well. So I hopped in some of the Facebook, like local Facebook groups, started doing some posts, started showing some numbers. If any people were looking for a manager, I kind of hit them up. And I found a package of 5 that was about 2 blocks east of downtown, which is a really, really good location here in Austin. They were luxury, so it's like 3 large homes with 2 smaller ones behind them. I took a terrible property management fee. I took a flat fee for $3,500 a month, which was about a 6% or 7% management fee.
On the whole portfolio, right? So you're saying
on that, all the 5, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I was
So I
like,
managed-
if it was per, I was like per unit. If somebody's paying you 35 grand a year, that like or plus, I was like that I don't I would take that deal. But okay, you're talking about the whole portfolio.
just the 5 properties, but they were high producers, right? Like they were doing, what like the smaller, it's like 180, 180, 260, and then 80 and 80. So yeah, I mean, if you break it down, it was again, I think it was like a 6% management fee. But what it allowed me to do was leave my job because I hit that 7K mark, which, pretty much eliminated or matched my W-2 at that point. And what it did is all of a sudden I had 5 luxury properties and I had 0 before, right? Like I had my house with the Goodwill furniture that I didn't want to show off. And so pretty quickly I started marketing myself as a luxury property manager and created 5-star. And I don't remember, honestly, it's been so long now, 5, like what happened right after that. But I got super active in the Airbnb groups. I started hosting meetups. I tried to become the guy in the brand in the area, which eventually worked, of just showing up and joining masterminds and doing this and hearing from other people. And my goal, I joined last thing I'll say is I joined a mastermind group at that point. It's all about abundance and like giving back to others. And so I kind of created this business model, which was like everything that I learned, I'm just going to give back to the community and other hosts. And I think that's going to come back to me. And that's proved to be really fruitful here, is becoming kind of like the expert in holding events. Because when people have questions, I've had local property managers that have come to my events that had a portfolio brought to them that they didn't feel like it was too high luxury for them. So they brought it to us. It's like, all right, this is amazing. And it wasn't the purpose of me doing that, but like those are some things that have come from pouring into other people and giving back. So that's kind of how everything started. Like the wheel started turning, grew really quickly, went from, those, I think I had the arbitrage in mind. So I had 8 at the time. I think I went almost like 18 or 20 within 3 to 6 months. And I can kind of talk about what happened after that, but that's how everything got started. And it was just word of mouth and, people in my networking groups real estate agents that saw my posts, things like that.
Damn, so much to unpack there, man. Like the first thing that comes to my mind, and I always thought this was the case, hearing your story is eye-opening to me because I did the reverse, and I think most people do the reverse, is you take on less quality properties first to get your reps in, to get your practice in. And as time goes, you realize what you don't want, what kind of owners you don't want to work with, what
For
kind of
sure.
revenue you want to expect. And then you kind of go that way until you transition into like, hey, I only take properties that look like this. And then eventually your whole portfolio looks some certain way. And that's like the 90th percentile of people that I talk to, they go that route, which is very interesting because it makes me think it's like, hey, if you're listening to this, maybe there is some value in going out to a luxury properties first, and I don't want to say undercut, but getting your reps in on there, because what you were able to do from that point was leverage the look of the portfolio,
Yep.
because the clients on the back end that are looking at your website, they don't know that they're paying 7% per property,
They have no
but
idea.
they see, but you're going to attract more of those type of units because you started with them. So I've never even thought about it that way, because everybody I talk to, it's like they're just like, oh no, I'm just going to take what I can get first, and then I'll start flushing these out. And it's like you almost went the reverse way.
Yeah, and don't worry, I did a little bit of that too. But but yeah, I did. When I look back and I think about it, you could look at it like a bad business deal, taking the lowest manageable management fee ever created. But to your point, it was like, I mean, it's almost like doing like an internship for free or something like that. But it's like, well, what do you get from that? And it really was so fruitful to have that on the website, be able to show people what we're doing, producing the numbers, things like that. And then, yeah, I did. I took on some shitty properties too. I took on some really bad owners. And when we went to that 18 or 20, I didn't have the systems to scale. I didn't have the expertise, and it got sloppy pretty quickly. And I went from having one bad boss at my W-2 to like 12 bad bosses, and I'm like, what am I doing here? And so then we went from 20 back down to like 11 or 12. And really got dialed in at that point. It was like, okay, what do we really want now? And so got rid of all those bad ones, and then focused on systems, focused on quality, and built really, really slowly from there.
So essentially, when you went from 18 to 20 back down to 10 or 11, it was almost like you just went on, don't want to say like a firing spree, but you were like, hey, like I messed up here. I want to do a reset. I want to get rid of these, and I want to establish my standard. So was that at a point when you went back down there where you were like, hey, this is what my buy box looks like, and we need to abide by these rules? Is that kind of when you identified that?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, and it was easy because like that five. I tried to negotiate like 5,500 or something more, and they were like, nah. So that was five gone right away, right? So it was just really eliminating like three or four other bad ones, maybe five or six, I don't know. And then yeah, just really got dialed in with that. And I think I'm really not that like smart of a guy. I'm not really good at a lot of operation stuff. Like I feel like mostly I'm just like a mid tier. What I'm really good at is seeing patterns. And I saw the pattern. I saw the writing on the wall that was like, everyone's getting into Airbnb. Like everyone I know, and I talk to Airbnb. Oh, I've thought about that. Oh, I've thought about that. Oh, I'm doing that. Oh, my cousin just launched Airbnb. I'm like, there's no way that like these average properties are going to do well. And so I just saw that writing on the wall about a year and a half, 2 years before we really hit that point. And so I just got a little bit ahead of that curve, which I don't know what would have happened if I would have just taken on all those really bad properties. I know I would have way more gray hair. I already have enough. But like, I don't know if I would have lost the business, but like it wouldn't have been good. So I'm happy I did see that ahead of time and really kind of create that identity of who we were. And luxury is such a funny word, right? It's not like every property I take on is like this $2 million home. It was just like, it needs to have great design. It needs to look good. It needs to have an owner willing to invest in it. Like those were like the basic things that we were looking at from the start. And now, yes, it truly is like we do say no to really like 80 to 90% of the properties brought our way. And it truly is like high end luxury. But even after that, when I made that decision, it was still like I just need properties that can still set themselves apart, not just the generic 3-2 with a gray couch and you know IKEA artwork or whatever. So
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I use the word, I think everybody throws around the word luxury. Like you guys have a true luxury portfolio. But what luxury means to me is like, can it gross over 100K in bookings? And usually, typically, what that means is it probably has a nice design, it has a pool, it checks all the boxes. So essentially, almost like most of the time, whenever you're using the word luxury, for the most part, if it's a property over 100K, from my definition, it pretty much kind of falls into that tier.
yeah,
um, so I say luxury too, but really I'm like, I just it's almost like we've done the same transition. And I know you're obviously friends and you've known Scriven for a while now. And I had my business and then I merged with Scriven like 2 years ago.
yeah,
And we had the same realization that you had, and we just had to figure it out a lot later in the process. So I think last time I looked, we don't even keep track of our unit count, right? So like we don't even care how many units we're managing. It's more of a profitability per unit thing.
that's right.
And we did basically what you did over the last 2 years, but we were already at 65 listings. So I think we're at 50 listings today, but over the last 2 years, we've added about 2 million in bookings. So
Incredible,
I'm
man.
like, who cares how many units we manage? Like, let's make our lives easier. Yeah. Do we want to get to 100 units? Sure. But our portfolio needs to look a certain way before it does. And being in like kind of the Canyon Lake market, like it's just taken such a dive. And I own there too. We were talking about before this call, and I'm selling my house there, but as a vacation rental. But it's the same thing. Like we had the same realization as you just had it from 20 to 10, and then you skyrocketed from there, which kudos to you versus us figuring it out a lot later. But I think we're on the right path now.
Yeah, man, those properties that you guys have been listing and it's showing off lately have been incredible. So, kudos to you for getting into those awesome markets. Looks like that Horseshoe Bay area and things like that, which is awesome.
Any reason y'all don't manage there, or is it just kind of too far out of the way? Or
Yeah, we have our model is like pretty intensive with like local staff being at the property multiple times a week. It's been something that I like market and have tried to set ourselves apart from other like managers with owners. And so I actually did have one condo right on the lake in Horseshoe Bay, like where the resorts is there. It wasn't great, but it had the pool and the jet ski docks and things like that. But it was just I just couldn't like fulfill what I'd promised to other owners by like having that local manager presence and just relying on the cleaners. So yeah, we just tried not to be like too spread out. So we're like Georgetown to South Austin, then really like concentrated in downtown and then dripping. But I've said no to really nice properties in Spicewood and Horseshoe Bay. I think just sent someone your way today actually. And yeah, it kind of goes back to what we just talked about from the first 5 years is like depending on what your systems and your goals are, whenever we get too spread out, it just becomes chaotic and like we're not able to deliver what we say we're going to deliver to owners. And so it's like this just strategic, what does it look like to scale and not do what every large property management company has done, which is grow too fast, get spread too thin, and then quality drops. So that's kind of our motto. We just had a team meeting yesterday and we have like the values of the company and we truly go over it. And I say it almost in every meeting with them where I'm like, we don't care about how fast we're growing, similar to what you're saying. Like we want quality, not just quality properties, but like we want to deliver quality within that. And yeah, man, like I think so that's the reason why we haven't kind of expanded in those markets. So
I think it's a good mindset thing where it's like you're not transactional, where like we have to add these amount of properties and we have to sign this many clients. It's just like, yes, we're going to be aggressive, but at the same time, like we're going to take stuff that makes sense and we're not going to do things just to make more money, but we're going to kind of put focus on just being profitable as a company. And I think that's probably definitely something you guys do really well. You mentioned your team. So we're a lot, you guys are what I envy, not say envy, but what I really like about what you guys have is your properties are, you're hyper focused in one area. So that's really awesome for us where we manage and where we started managing. It's kind of just like, in order for us to play this game, we have to be a little more spread out in these micro markets because, we might be, there may be only a few handful of properties that we can take on in Wimberley. And then, LBJ, we're just trying to get going there, but we based our business in Canyon Lake, which is we're not taking properties there. So, yeah, what I was going to get at was with us being so spread out, how, I guess, what's your team look like today? Like, how is your company structured? Because every manager that comes on, they're never going to have the same company structure, whether they have local co-host on the ground or they have one inspector for 40 properties or
Yep.
this, that, and the other. With such a high touch luxury, amazing portfolio, what does your team kind of look like, and what does like your internal structure look like?
So it's changed a lot just the last couple of weeks, which is wild. So I'll talk about that. But like our basic structure, what the craziest story in this is that my first hire was a VA from the Philippines. His name's Gene. Um, and he helped me build the company, no doubt. Just a worker and a problem solver. And so I hired him, and I hired this girl who was like an MBA in business, and she was going to do like business development. That was like 30 days and didn't work out. But Gene has been with me since day one, and now is like, what's his role? Director of finance and administration. Uh, and we actually made him a partner last year. And which is just such a cool story, man. You hire someone at $4 an hour, and then I want to put
Give them
numbers
skin
out
in
there
the
for what he's
game.
going to make, but a little bit more than that. And so he essentially runs our entire team in the Philippines. I think we have 9 full-time employees in the Philippines. That structure, a lot of people like break it into specific roles. That's not really how we do it. They're kind of like do it all, guest experience, guest relations, checking the cameras, any tasks we need. So that's like 7 of them. And then one is a maintenance coordinator. So she really just like helps our team focus on what we have for the week and keeping up with contractors and, getting invoices out. I think similar structure of what you guys had previously. I haven't talked to Scribbin about. I think you had like a Marco or something in Mexico that was doing that. But so doing a lot of that stuff, we actually just kind of like elevated her into like a coordinator. And then we have a supervisor of the admin team. And then locally, so, I've gone through a similar thing that you and Scriven have. So a year ago, Ryan Leake and he had a company in Austin. We merged together. And then in January, my buddy Jeremy Rosen and I merged together. He's in San Antonio. So those guys are like the 2 GMs, Jeremy in San Antonio, Austin, or Ryan here in Austin. And then under those guys are the local managers. So in San Antonio, we have 2, and in Austin, we have 2. And then in the last 3 weeks ago, we hired someone from a different management company locally he's kind of like the head of maintenance, essentially. Does some of the maintenance stuff, but more like manages the higher end projects, and does a lot of the like higher end quality checks. And then the two local managers I talked about, and we just hired our first full-time handyman. So that's kind of like the biggest shift and change, is having an in-house handyman. It's just so hard we spend so much time trying to find contractors, get them there, get the quality, check it over. And handyman, like per hour rates. I don't know what that looks like for you guys, but like I used to be able to get most guys for like $30 to $40 an hour, and like our average handyman was going up to like 80 to 120, and it was like, and then you go back down to the guys with like 40 or 50, and it just was terrible. And it just wasn't sustainable for the owners, when you're sending them over a bill for $160 to do something that is a pretty mundane task. So yeah, that's kind of what we have going now, in the breakdown of the company. I think it's like 17 full-time employees at this point. So, which from what when I talk to other property managers, like feels like we're overstaffed, but it never feels that way. So, so again, I don't know if it's the model or what, but
Yeah, no, I would say, but the thing is, you have the results that speak for themselves, and you have the properties that are more high touch. Like you can get away with skimping and doing the little things and skipping here and there when your properties do 50, 60K. But when you have a property in your portfolio that's five, $600,000 a year, well, number one, you can pay for those people. And number two, like you've got people going before every stay. You got people on call. You can provide this elevated level of experience. So when you tell me that, I would say, yeah, that sounds way overstaffed. But actually knowing like a little bit more about your brand and have seen you guys around for a while, I would be like, yeah, for them, they probably have some kind of infrastructure like that. So that makes sense.
yeah, man. And to your point, like it all goes back to the model, and it's still been like the only way I figured out how to deliver that super high quality. And whenever we shift things and try to do it differently, it just doesn't seem to work like it was. And so, like, I've managed a few in like Galveston area, Port Bolivar, and then like it was okay, but it just wasn't that standard of like really where I wanted to be. So yeah, I just keep falling back to that. So
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
exactly, man.
So I do have some questions, but I do actually want to note the growth of Austin, and I want to note the growth of Ryan as well. Ryan was on the podcast episode 45.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's a vast difference from now episode 108, and I think I was just hanging out with Ryan about a month ago doing a bigger pockets thing, and it's totally different. And then same thing with Austin. We started this 2 years ago. It was about the count, right? It's not about the count anymore. It's about what you can make per each one of those in that count. So I call it squeezing the blood from a turnip. I just, any way you can make the money. So I think that's fantastic. I just want to note that episode 45, if you guys want to learn more about Ryan, we have to have him back on so we can do a redo.
I was
But I do
almost
want
going to
to
talk to you guys and just see if we should both pop on to do a little story.
You know what?
Surprise.
I'll probably just hit him up and tell him to get on again anyway. So it was
I
nice
love
seeing
it.
him.
Wait, hold on, real
Was
quick,
that?
Matt. I thought Ryan was just like the tour guide, like he just goes to properties and like was the influencer
Yeah,
guy.
that's all he does now. Yeah, that's all he is now. Well, he told
Dude,
me he's trying to find stuff to do with his time. That's what he told me.
Yeah,
no,
for sure.
I told him, like when he first dropped the first one and it didn't get that many views, I was like, dude, keep doing this every
Dude, me
single week
too.
for 1 week. You're gonna go so viral. This is so good. It's like Dave Portnoy's pizza review, but it's even
Yeah.
better because they're going through the house and like exposing like what happened at the house, like bachelor party, like that's one of the coolest things I've seen. I've seen other people do it, but they're not as entertaining as Ryan. Like he's
Well,
on to
even like
something with that.
stupid shit too. He's like, oh, these pretzels are great. There's you guys are sleeping on something good. Like it's like such a big deal. Because I told him the same thing at the event. I said, dude, I was like, keep fucking doing those because they're fantastic. I like them. I actually ran across one of his TikToks today. I had a ton of likes and like a ton of like comments and like that's why I stay in a hotel. And I'm like, he didn't say anything about like anything.
About,
And then, like,
yeah.
yeah. And he's like trolling them. They're like, oh yeah, I stay in a hotel because you guys have a long checklist. He's like, where did I mention checklist? Like all kind of like, oh, now he's starting to talk shit to people on the internet. I'm like, here we go. But it's
Oh,
great, dude.
also, one more thing too, like what I also like about your content, I don't know if you do it or it's probably your marketing person, but it always catches me. It's so funny because it's something really stupid to start, like somebody getting hit in the face or something that like pops out at you, and then it's just like this super banger 5-star property. So, anyways, kudos to you
Yeah, man,
guys
it's been
because
fun
I feel
trying
like the
different social
marketing.
media people, and she's been really good. And
That's their 17th hire. No, I'm
yeah,
just kidding.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't even include her in that number because but contractor. But yeah,
For now.
for now.
I mean, once Ryan blows up and
Yeah,
becomes
exactly. He's gonna
viral,
need his
yeah,
own. Yeah, for sure. He's gonna need his
he's
own
gonna be
marketing.
asking you for more of a percentage. He's like, wait a minute, we need to renegotiate this. We're no longer 50-50.
Oh,
He's
come on.
I'm the brand now.
He does that every 3 months already, brother. So
Oh, that makes sense, dude. Slick talker, man. I do want to rewind it though, because you were talking about, and I think this might actually help a lot of people. You were talking about how in the beginning you were growing, and then you were like, okay, well, this isn't working. I don't have the systems in place to grow the way I want to. Then you downsized, and then you started growing again after you put systems in place. So I'd like to reiterate, like, what kind of systems did you put in place to help you be able to grow the way that you grew? Because I think there's probably a lot of people that might be stuck at that stage.
yeah, yeah. I mean, to be honest, like, and this is why Gene's a partner now. I mean, he's the one that mostly built those. Like I said, like I just am not great at building systems. I'm more of that typical entrepreneur, bounce around, great relationship builder. You know, I do like I'm good at hospitality for sure. So a lot of that stuff was him, but I mean, it was just the basics at that point, right? I mean, the checklist, right? Going through what does that look like? The onboarding checklist, the cleaners checklist. I'm going through and kind of like rating them and seeing how they did and having a system for that to figure out how well they're doing. So that was like a lot of the first things that we did was really basic, Google Sheets. I don't even remember what the survey ones or whatever, but like
The forms.
yeah, the forms, like it was pretty simplistic when it came to that. But from an impact of like, oh, we should like actually keep track of consumables and like not just eyeball it, and know that there's 72 rolls or whatever, right? So those are some of like the early on things that we did to kind of just create those basic systems of quality. And I mean, it's crazy now. I mean, in the last year and a half, especially since Ryan has come in, it's all he does all day is systems. And so like how robust that is just a whole different level now. Everything for us pretty much runs in like breezeway, and every checklist and every, I don't know how many SOPs we have now, but I would say we probably have like 60 to 70 company SOPs. We were just talking yesterday, like a basic example is like, does our admin know like the SOP on troubleshooting in HVAC? Right? It's so simple, but and I think we have it, but like, how detailed is that? How good is that? Right? Like, what are the steps they should go through? So we can figure out like, is the battery dead in the nest, or do we need an HVAC tech to come? Very, very different situations. And guest experience wise, if we're just like asking them to do a bunch of shit, but we could have figured out what it was in one question. That's really frustrating from them too. So that's kind of where everything started with him building all those SOPs. I remember the first task we had to do when we hired all the admin was like, I was the one that was responding to guests for years and years, right? And so I think we hired like 3 admin at once, and it was like 3 weeks where they went through every single message that we ever sent. Great to have AI now, right? They can do this in like an hour, but 3 weeks went at every message, and then just created this like FAQ sheet for every single property and how I answered it and where things are and things like that. And then that eventually developed into this property detail sheet that has 150 items that includes the serial number for the refrigerator and their microwave and every appliance in the whole house. So if something breaks, like, we don't have to come on site. We can actually just know what the model is and order that part without even having to come on site. So those are the kind of things that we do now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think too the biggest thing is like, you don't realize like all the shit you do. Like my biggest problem is like onboarding, because there's just so many things that I have to do. And it's like it's like, oh no, I forgot about these 10 steps and those 10 steps and that 10 steps. You know what I mean? It's just so many different things you have to do. You don't realize that you do until you're trying to teach someone to do what you're doing, right? Um, so what well, I guess we're still on systems. are you guys using AI in your business now? And if you are, how are you?
Yeah, so we're doing one larger project right now, which is really just what I just talked about with all that property detail stuff. We're trying to like consolidate that into like one back end AI system where essentially admin could just type in like, where is the remote at this house? And it's able to dig into our super organized back end to like spit out that answer for them. We were doing AI messaging for a little bit with what is that uh,
Host
Host
buddy.
buddy?
host buddy, really great. Um, but we just didn't have the backend to support it yet, right? And if your backend isn't amazing, then it's just going to spit out whatever the hell it wants to. So it was like giving people late checkouts, and it's like, okay, we have to be better for this AI to work how we want to. Um, and so I don't know like what we'll end up doing from the messaging side of things, but our goal right now is at least that back end to be
Yeah.
really good with that automation where it's like easier to find things and they don't have to go through 42 different spreadsheets and things like that to try to find the answer and make their
Yeah.
lives a lot easier as we scale because it's like great to have those 140 things that we talked about, but um, plus 42 different videos showing the different parts of the property and how do you turn on this and how do you turn on that. But if you can't find them, or if it takes you 20 minutes to try to solve one question, well then how many admin do you have if 15 people are messaging you out at once? So
Yeah.
that's been our biggest thing that we focused on for AI.
Well, and it's different too, right? So like the information you need for your property for your admin and the information you need for your property for your host buddy to work are two different things, right? You don't want the host buddy say, "Oh, why don't you call AT&T? Here's the number and the account number," right? You don't want that stuff given out to the guest or things like that. So, ooh, I don't know what that was. Did anybody hear that? Must have been me. Okay.
Yeah,
But
heard
yeah,
that
it's
one.
just did you hear it? Yeah, it was like an alligator in my ear. Um but yeah, it's a trip. I mean, I used to use HostBuddy too. I mean, I built out my own AI system, and
Nice.
I just adjust my messaging if I have that issue because I actually did have that issue. Like you said, it just like it gave out late checkout or what early check in, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
All right, let's fix it. But the good thing is, I could just fix it with the prompt, and I'm done. And
That's
it
right.
takes me 2 seconds. So, but yeah, I mean, that's just how AI works, right? And especially when you're training it to be like hospitable, and it's like, oh yeah, it sounds nice to say, hey, come on in, whatever. Oh, you got any problems? Just give us a call. I'm like, no, don't give us a call. Shoot us a message or a text. But yeah, so speaking of patterns, you see patterns. So what kind of patterns are you seeing right now in the industry?
Right now, the pattern I'm seeing is uh, good operators taking over and quality really being brought into the industry. I'm seeing a pattern of guests expecting a lot, perfection, I would say. Uh, and at least in Austin, I'd say about most environments, people are willing to do crazy things with their homes, furnishing wise and amenity wise, to create a lot of revenue. And so it's been about a year that I've been talking about this is like, what does that apex look like for us? And every obviously city will be different and market will be different. But what does that look like when Austin went from having like 700 houses with pools 3 years ago to like just under 3,000 properties with pools now? Um, and what happens when the average price point of the home is over $1 million, which we can do the math on then what they need to make monthly to be able to break even. So yeah, so the pattern is that the lower performers have continually dropped off the platform, higher quality, and people putting excessive amounts of money into their properties, which I've always been an advocate of. But if I had to guess, in about 12 to 18 months, in most markets. I think we've seen a lot of stabilization. So I don't think it's going to be like a crash, but I do think it could continue in this downward trend where like it's just going to be really hard to set yourself apart and be able to get like these $7,000 bookings, or $10,000 bookings. And depending on what level, like all I mean is try to like maximize that rent. Like we're just seeing a lot of our pool houses that last year we could get like $1,000 a night. Now it's like $850. Haven't really seen revenue drop too much because we've just figured out RevPAR pretty well, and like we've actually year over year we're pretty much. I think it's like 80% of our properties are actually higher than in 2025. But yeah, man, I'm worried, and I would guess that there's going to be some sort of apex where like the luxury market gets hit. They just haven't felt that same pinch that the lower end properties have. So that's the pattern that I'm seeing is just really, really high quality and much better operators, and much higher expectations from guests.
Yeah. No, I think that you summarize the industry very well. Standards overall have risen, but also like one thing I think is not to bring a gray cloud, but the kind of Airbnb and how they approach the guest situation where you're saying guests keep getting worse and worse. And that's something I think we can all agree on over the last few years. Is like this Airbnb type culture is if you complain enough, they'll give you some money back or this, that, and the other. And in reality, to what your point is, the way I look at it is like a lot of people like you and I and Matt came in 2020 and we started management companies. And there's a whole bunch of us that got in at that time because of Airbnb. But to your point, like we have been able to come in and provide a better service. We have made the industry better. We have, gotten with the times versus a lot of the legacy managers with thousands of listings still kind of do things the way they used to do things. So it's really crazy to wrap your brain around the fact that standards within the hospitality industry and vacation rental industry has rised, but counter to that, also guest expectations have become higher and more challenging. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's wild times.
It is, man, and like it's sometimes I think it's why like PE ends up kind of taking over is because when you really care, I really care, and that's how I've built my business. And if you really care, this business is 10 times harder than if you don't. Now, would I have
Yeah.
built as good of a business if I didn't care? Probably not. But like now in my life, when I have family, and it's like I'm on vacation, it's like this guest is just being really, really challenging. It's like it actually like ruins my day. And I'm like I do not want this to ruin my day. This should not ruin my day anymore. And it's like I continually work at that to like care less, but it's like what made the business. And so it's super hard within that. And but like I think that's what wears down, a lot of management companies and owners or operators is just like yeah, it's hard to feel like you can win, right? When you feel like you're going over an extra and you're doing all this quality and all, and it's like whatever happens, right? If an HVAC or we just had a leak today, in one of the tubs, it's like you can't prevent that stuff. But now it's like, okay, well, I feel like guests used to be like, it's all good, like do it after or come and do the repair. Now it's like, well, I want all money back. You're like, you want all money back because one shower is not working for the last day of your stay and you've been there for 5. Like, I just don't understand the math here. like,
If they,
like make this work.
Yeah, and if they report it long enough or they call Airbnb, well, they can shut your listing down and wipe out all the listings. So that happened with us at a property recently, which something that just was not necessarily mishandled on our end was just completely blown out of proportion with the guest. Airbnb flagged it as something, canceled all the bookings, and shut the listing down. So it's like that's wild, and it was something that we were able to remediate and solve the problem for. So it's like it's crazy, man. It's
It
crazy.
is crazy.
But no, you make a good point too, and I was curious what your thoughts are on like. I'm sure you guys are probably experiencing this. I definitely know you guys are experiencing this, and we are too a little bit. Where it's like you mentioned PE and people coming in. I'm sure people are knocking on your door weekly, and we're getting phone calls too. And it's like a lot of these people are starting to, sell their business, roll it up, get out of it. What are your thoughts on that? For me, my take on the situation personally is like, we don't really have interest in doing that right now because we enjoy doing this and it gives us a great sense of fulfillment and purpose. But I also feel like it will make businesses our size, the mid-scale boutique operator, even more competitive because a lot of these people are exiting. So you have the very beginner host with 5 to 10 listings, which can do a good job, but they probably lack the infrastructure, the inspector, the tech, the knowledge, the know-how. Yes, they're high touch, but they have 5 to 10 listings. They really don't have that level of scale. And then there's a gap that's going to take place. This is my prediction between those, let's say 50 to 150. I don't know, just making up, maybe 100 boutique range like we're in, that are exiting. So now you've got this gap of this PE firm that owns 1,000 listings in your market and 1,000 listings in a bunch of different markets. And then you've got the boutique host. So I think it's almost like creating essentially I think it's going to create a higher level demand for that local boutique operator to continue to gain more traction. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? As the middle, it's almost like the middle class disappearing.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I don't know what route it'll go. It's always interesting to get in the consumer mindset on like what they look for, and I think that debate's been going on for years and years. Where it's like, well, does someone really want to go to Home Depot? Don't they want to go to their local shop? And it's like, I don't know if people care if the pricing is right and the reviews are okay and they can hold that quality. I don't know if that consumer, if a lot of the consumers care that much, but there's been no large company that's been able to keep that quality. So like, are they going to have those reviews? And so I think that's, with a host away or something like that, that's acquiring everywhere. That's doing it differently than Vacasa, where there's still like, local management, local market, try to do that more in depth. Like, can they crack the code? I think is a big question. But I think, yeah, we've been offered a lot of money, like way more than we thought. And I always think about our owners and the quality and like what would happen for me. Yeah, it'd be the best situation, man. Like I'd walk away with more money than I ever thought in this industry. And so I was like super close to putting on our website. Like literally you get to our website and the thing says we were offered $10 million to sell our company. And we said, no, come find out why.
You should actually. That actually is pretty killer.
And just
but I'm sure you might have signed an NDA.
Yeah, and just from like all these owners that like it's like Patora was here and then they sold, and it's like it's just like all these big ones have just crumbled, and I just have a really bad track record. And again, the care and some of those things that I think that we do that just get lost in bigger companies, bigger corporations, but. I don't know. It's the United States of America, and like the big ones seem to succeed somehow or another, right? And it's just another roll up and another this and another acquisition, and so. But I do agree with you.
A lot of them try to crack the code, though. That's what I think.
For sure.
I don't think they're going to. I think everyone's going to keep going at it differently until somebody actually figures it out.
But yeah, that's what I mean. This industry is just. It's not e-commerce, right? Like it's like hospitality is just a different form. And so I don't think there's ever going to be someone that completely figures that out. And to your point, Austin, is like, I would just agree that there's always going to be this market. And I think it'll continue to grow for like a boutique feel. And I think you've really seen that shift in even just like the hotel industry. Like even if it's a larger hotel chain, they're like trying to figure out this like boutique style to feel there. And the person, like the knowing your name, like being very personable, just all the things that they can do. But again, way harder to do something like that when everything is spread out, which is the challenge of short-term rentals. So, yeah, we talk about it a lot. I don't have the desire to sell right now. It's been fun knowing our value. I think that's really cool to understand that and how people value you, and like. Talking to operators in PE that's like, your ratings are crazy, your reviews are crazy. How do you have 500 Google reviews at 5.0? Like, we've never seen that before. Like it's definitely felt really good to kind of get like that recognition for the brand that we've built and the portfolio that we have. But yeah, I just have a lot of fear of what would happen if we turn over the keys to the houses and the owners that have kind of entrusted us. So
Yeah, so it's not even a dollar figure thing for you in your head right now. I mean, obviously that's some position to play in it, but for you, it's more of just like, hey, this is what I do. I'm proud of the brand we've built. And I think probably what I would guess is just watching you guys over the last couple years and these mergers that taken place. I'm sure that from you getting out of the weeds and working more in a team and putting your CEO hat on or whatever and just having actual a culture versus when you were in those early days with the 10 listings messaging back guests, where now it's like now you're working with Ryan and Jeremy and you guys probably have some camaraderie, and I'm sure it's probably more enjoyable now. So you're like, man, I mean, is that kind of relatively close? Because that's kind of how it was for me in Scriven. Like when I was doing it at your level with 15 listings, I was like, man, this sucks, dude. I made enough money to get out of my job. And then I was like, oh, now this even sucks. And I was like, and I partnered with him and then it's like, okay, now I'm in the lane of doing what I'm good at. And we have a good team. We have a good infrastructure. And that team part of it is just, it's great. Like don't want to do anything else. Like, I don't know.
yeah, I mean, for me, man, I feel like it's every week it's like a little bit different. So like we just had a really hard first few months of the year with like bookkeeping and some of that stuff, and we hired y'all's bookkeeper who's just uh Almas. I can't even remember the name of it, STR bookkeeping or something. If you know her name, shout it out here because she deserves it.
Yeah.
But Almas is incredible and like that. So we're like getting close to that, but like yeah, there's just, even this year, like there's been weeks where we're like looking at each other on a leadership call, and it's like us four partners, and we're just like, this is really hard and not that fun, right? Like, and then like the next week, it's just like this is amazing, and I don't know, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that entrepreneurial meme, but it's like the day of an entrepreneur, and it's like you're like, I'm the best. I figured it all out. Why am I doing this? Like, why don't I go back to my W-2? And then an hour later, like, feel like the king again. And like, it's just kind of like business and the entrepreneurial life. But I'll say this, like balance is there in my life much more than it was before. That's really shifted having these guys, as GMs and partners, and running that side of stuff. I was in Colorado for 5-6 weeks, from May to June. Just was in North Carolina last week. Wasn't I was able to take vacations before, but it was like working 50% of it at least. And so that part of it is a ton of fun. And yeah, like just having the partners does make it a lot better to be in it together. Today I was having a rough morning. We had a rougher like experience with an employee yesterday, and like we're doing gratitude to start our meeting and just like sharing that, and they're in a good mood, and I'm kind of like and it's like, no, let's talk about it, let's work it out, and just coming together, and especially when there's alignment, right, which I've just been so lucky at, and again, like kind of good at the pattern human thing of like figuring out who these wonderful guys are, that I've partnered with, and that we're all aligned, and like we all want the same thing. And like that was the most important thing when we talked about partnership, is like, what are your long-term goals? What are your long-term goals? Do they actually like fit together? And that really, the first partnership I did went terribly, which we don't have time to talk about, but like this has just been such a different experience of like, I don't know, like we have very few even like disagreements, it's just like we just come together and talk about it. And so, yeah, sharing life and business together is so much better. So,
Yeah. No, I love that. Last thing I wanted to touch on was, it seems like another thing you guys do a really good job of is maybe maybe not partnering with people per se, but putting on local things in the community. I always get invited and I want to go, and then I plug it in the GPS and it's like an hour and 45
yeah.
minutes from New Braunfels, and I'm like, I put that on my calendar. I'm not going because that's a 3-hour commute both ways. But anyways, you do a good job of putting on events in the community. And I saw one in San Antonio. I was on vacation then, but that one's a lot
A
closer.
lot
But
of
you guys are
excuses,
putting on,
man. A lot of excuses coming
yeah,
through. I don't know. Every
it's
time I
just
see
sounds like,
RSVP and I just go, oh, I finally gonna meet this guy in person, and then you don't show up, man.
no
Obviously, I
show.
haven't seen
Yeah.
y'all, but we'll have to
Well,
meet up
now that
in
you're
person soon, though. But
Yeah, now that you're kind of grilling me for it, I feel a little bit of pressure and like kind of accountability now. So maybe that means that I need to commit to one of these. But anyways, no, good point. I need to show up. But you guys do a good job putting these things on in the community. So talk about that. Like like if I'm a Texas Hill Country host or investor and I'm listening to this and I want to find out more about you guys or whatever the case may be, what are you guys doing out in the community and what do those events kind of look like?
yeah, so that was kind of what I talked about from the jump, right? Of really where like a lot of those properties came from was like being the moderator for these groups, and that has helped a ton. So we have one that's called STR Austin. That's the one I started. It has probably like 1,200 hosts in there. And so, and then there's another one called Austin Airbnb Hosts, I believe. And that one I didn't start, but I'm kind of taken it over and moderator and, post the events in there. And that's like contractors and vendors and everyone. So that's why it has like 12K. But that's pretty much where we post and get out the events. And we're shooting for quarterly, and we kind of take a poll of what people want to talk about. And so last meeting, I just did a market update. I looked at 2000, the last 3 years of data, and kind of broke that down of what kind of properties are still doing well and what amenities are doing well and what areas and bedroom count and just again try to give back as much as I can. We typically share our real numbers and just give those out to people in hopes that it can help them figure out what kind of properties might work for them for cash flow. And yeah, man, it can get kind of like it's a funny thing. Like even with the abundant mindset is you put a lot of energy into these, and then it's like we hope some investors come in, and it's mostly just hosts, and we truly are just like giving back. But we enjoy it a lot. Typically those events get 30 to 50 kind of hosts, real estate agents, few investors in there, so we love doing that.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Lucas, thank you so much for your time. Like you just murdered this. We didn't even have to try, so you were fantastic. Is there anything else you want to share with anybody or tell them where to find you or anything like that?
Yeah, our Instagram is 5 star. It's written out FIVE Star VHR. You can kind of see what we're doing with like the marketing stuff and things like that. I don't have a personal page like Ryan, who's going to be famous.
Yes.
I don't have Instagram on my phone, so I would just like I always like to share just the fact of how life changing it is to get in the room with people that are doing things at a high level and have a different mentality in life. I just think so many people get stuck in the day to day in their environment and like don't realize there's this whole other world out there, um, and that like society doesn't have to create the rules for you. Um, yeah, the last thing I'll say with that is like when I got into all this, I never had wealth. I never, grew up with really that intention. I was a social worker. I made $26,000 when I came to Austin, and I always felt like I was raised at least to think like if I was wealthy, I'd be unhappy. And so I couldn't have both. I either like had to be a social worker and poor and help people and be happy, or I could go chase money and be miserable. Or I thought you had to be like wealthy and unhealthy, and I just didn't realize you could have it all in life. And you truly can. Like you can be a beautifully balanced person, and be healthy and build a business and not work fucking 80 hours a week. And so that's what I try to teach and let people know is like this world and where we live. We're so fortunate to be in the United States. Truly are still so many opportunities to make money, and eat well and be well and have a really joyous life. So that's a message I'd like to send.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That was actually probably one of the best parting messages we've had from a guest. So I appreciate that. And with that, I'll let Austin give his spiel.
All right. Well, thank y'all for listening. Peace.